Dr. Amanda Clark stared at her computer screen and rubbed her tired eyes. She had been watching the numbers dance across the monitor for 6 hours straight. The research ship Aurora floated quietly, in space, far from Earth, collecting data about distant stars. Amanda's job was to study alien languages, but today she was looking at something very different. The sun was acting strange. For 3 days now, the readings from their home stars showed patterns that made no sense. Solar flares happened all the time, but these were different. They followed rules. They repeated in ways that reminded Amanda of the alien languages she studied every day. "Computer, run analysis pattern 7 again," she said softly. The screen filled with colorful lines and graphs. Each spike represented energy bursts from the sun. Most people would see random noise, but Amanda saw something else. The peaks and valleys looked like words trying to form themselves. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison walked into the lab carrying the cups of coffee. He was the ship's communications officer and one of the few people who understood Amanda's work. His dark hair was messy from a long shift, and he looked as tired as she felt. Still staring at those solar readings, Jake asked, handing her a cup. "You know Captain Bennett wants the weekly language reports finished by tomorrow." Amanda took the coffee gratefully. "Jake, look at this. Really look at it." She pointed to the screen where the solar data created wave patterns. "See how this section repeats every 4 to 7 minutes? And this part here connects to the pattern from yesterday, but with small changes." Jake squinted at the monitor. He was good with communication systems, but this looked like scientific gibberish to him. "Amanda, it's just solar activity. The sun does this stuff all the time." "No, it doesn't." Amanda pulled up older data files. "I checked records going back 50 years. The sun has never made patterns like this. Look." She showed him comparison charts. The old data looked like scribbled lines with no order. The new data looked like someone was trying to write messages in a language made of energy. "Even if you're right," Jake said slowly, "why would the sun suddenly start making patterns now?" Before Amanda could answer, the lab door opened. 3 aliens walked in, each from a different species that worked with humans on Aurora. First came Zix, a tall Zephyrian with blue skin and large black eyes. The Zephyrians could speak directly into each other's minds, which made them excellent translators. Behind Zix walked Unit 7, a member of the collective. It looked like a walking crystal sculpture, its body made of connected geometric shapes that sparkled with inner light. The collective shared one big mind across millions of bodies throughout the galaxy. Last came Elder Voss, an ethereal who looked like a floating cloud of silver gas in the rough shape of a person. The ethereals were the oldest known species in the galaxy, and they claimed to understand the deep mysteries of space. "Human Amanda," Zix said in his musical voice, "we heard you studying stellar radiation. The captain asked us to help you understand what you observe." Amanda felt her heart sink a little. She respected her alien colleagues, but they often treated human discoveries like cute mistakes that needed fixing. Unit 7's crystal body flashed with different colors as it spoke. "The collective has analyzed your data through 10,000 linked minds. We find only normal stellar activity with no meaningful patterns." Elder Voss's misty form swirled gently. "Young species often see patterns where none exist. It is natural for developing minds to find meaning in randomness." Amanda looked at her 3 alien colleagues, then back at her screen. "But what if it's not random? What if we're seeing it differently because we're human?" "Explain," Zix said, tilting his head. Amanda pulled up her analysis again. "Zephyrians communicate through direct thought transfer. The collective shares one mind across space. Ethereals exist partly outside normal reality, but humans communicate through symbols, sounds, and patterns. We're really good at finding hidden meanings in things that look random." She pointed to the solar data. "What if the sun is trying to communicate, but only humans can recognize it as language because of how our brains work?" The 3 aliens looked at each other in the way species do. When they think someone has said something silly, Unit 7's crystals flickered faster. "Stars are balls of burning gas," Unit 7 said. "They do not think or communicate. This is basic science. The collective has studied stellar phenomena for millions of years." It continued. "If stars could speak, we would know." Elder Voss floated closer to Amanda's screen. "Even if stellar communication were possible, why would a star choose to speak now? After billions of years of silence." Amanda felt frustration building in her chest. "I don't know why, but look at the math. These patterns follow the same rules as the Krillian language we decoded last year. The same grammatical structures as ancient Zephyrian. There are even markers that look like punctuation. She pulled up more screens, showing comparisons between the solar patterns and known alien languages. The complexity is increasing each day. Day 1 had simple repeating patterns. Data added variations. Today, I'm seeing what looks like compound sentences. Jake studied the comparisons more carefully. His communication training helped him see what Amanda meant. These do look similar to language structures. Impossible, Elder Voss said firmly. Young species often mistake natural phenomena for intelligence. This is well documented. Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and Captain Bennett's voice came over the speakers. All senior staff to the bridge immediately. We have a situation. The group rushed through the ship's hallways to the main bridge. Captain Lisa Bennett stood in the center, looking at the large view screen that showed their local area of space. She was a strong woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Report, she said as they arrived. Her science officer, Commander Ryan Foster, pointed at the screen. Captain, we're detecting massive solar activity. Energy bursts 50 times stronger than anything in our records. The pattern started 30 minutes ago. Amanda looked at the screen and felt her breath catch. The energy bursts were huge, but they still followed the same pattern she had been studying. The sun wasn't just trying to communicate anymore. It was shouting. Captain, Amanda said quietly, I think the sun is trying to tell us something important. Captain Bennett turned to look at Amanda. Explain, Doctor. I've been tracking unusual solar patterns for 3 days. They look like language structures. The activity just increased dramatically, like something urgent is happening. The alien officers made sounds of disagreement, but Captain Bennett held up her hand for silence. She had learned to trust her human crew's instincts, even when they seemed impossible. Dr. Clark, I want you to focus all your resources on this. If there's even a small chance you're right, we need to know what the sun is trying to say. Amanda nodded, feeling both excited and terrified. Yes, Captain. I'll need access to the main computer and help with the communication systems. Jake, work with her, Captain Bennett ordered. Everyone else, prepare for possible emergency situations. If the sun is acting strange, we need to be ready for anything. As the bridge crew scattered to their tasks, Amanda looked once more at the view screen. The sun's energy patterns pulsed like a heartbeat, and she couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out for something very important. Whatever the sun was trying to say, she had to figure it out soon. Amanda worked through the night without sleeping. Her lab had become a maze of computer screens, data charts, and empty coffee cups. Jake sat beside her, helping to modify the ship's communication systems to better capture the solar signals. Try frequency range 7 again, Amanda said, pointing at a section of scrambled data on her screen. Jake adjusted the controls on his communication panel. That's better. The signal is cleaner now. But I still don't understand what we're looking at. Amanda rubbed her eyes and looked at the new data. After 12 hours of work, she was starting to see patterns within patterns. The sun's messages had layers, like a language that used grammar rules inside other grammar rules. It's like the sun is speaking in code, she said slowly, but the code is made of smaller codes. She pulled up her translation programs, the same one she used to decode alien languages. Slowly, she began to match parts of the solar patterns to known language structures. One section repeated like a greeting. Another part changed in ways that reminded her of counting numbers. Jake, look at this part here. She pointed to a section that appeared every few minutes. This could be a warning signal. It's urgent and keeps repeating. Before Jake could answer, the lab door opened. Captain Bennett walked in, followed by the 3 alien officers from yesterday. The captain looked worried, and the alien seemed more serious than usual. Dr. Clark, report your progress, Captain Bennett said. Amanda stood up and showed them her work screens. Captain, I've made a breakthrough. The solar patterns definitely follow language rules. I've identified what appears to be basic grammar, number systems, and repeating warning signals. Zix stepped forward, his blue skin darker than usual, which meant he was concerned. Human Amanda, the Zephyrian Council contacted our ship 1 hour ago. They report similar solar activity throughout the galaxy. All stars are showing unusual energy patterns. Unit 7's crystal body flashed with worried colors. The collective confirms this data. Every star system we monitor shows the same phenomenon. This is not limited to your sun. Elder Voss floated closer to Amanda's screens. If what you claim is true, then every star in the galaxy began speaking at the same time. This suggests a threat of cosmic scale. Amanda felt her heart beating faster. A threat? What kind of threat? We do not know, Elder Voss said. But in our species' ancient records, there are legends of a darkness that moves between stars, something that feeds on stellar energy itself. Captain Bennett looked at the data on Amanda's screens. Doctor, can you translate any specific words or concepts from these patterns? Amanda turned back to her computer and ran her translation program on the clearest sections of solar data. Slowly, words began to appear on her screen. Most were still scrambled, but some came through clearly. Danger, she read aloud. Warning, coming, devour, energy, protect. The room became very quiet. Everyone stared at the screen where these simple words glowed. There's more. Amanda continued, working with another section of data. It says something about feeding, something that eats starlight itself, and she paused, checking her translation twice. It says time remaining. How much time? Captain Bennett asked. Amanda worked frantically with the numbers in the solar message. Her translation program struggled with the mathematical concepts, but finally produced an answer. 72 hours, she said quietly. Whatever is coming will be here in 72 hours. Jake leaned forward. Amanda, are you sure about this? Translation as sure as I can be with a completely new language, she replied. But Captain, there's something else. The sun isn't just warning us. It's asking for help. She showed them another section of translated data, the word patterns. Here suggests cooperation, partnership. It's like the sun wants to work with us against whatever is coming. Unit 7's crystals flickered rapidly. The collective finds this concept difficult to process. How does a star form partnerships with biological life? Amanda looked at her alien colleagues and felt a moment of understanding. Maybe that's exactly the point. You think in terms of telepathy, high minds, and cosmic energy. But humans think differently. We use tools. We make alliances. We fight together against common enemies. She turned to Captain Bennett. What if the sun chose to communicate with humans because we're the only species that would understand the concept of forming an alliance with a star? Elder Voss made a sound like wind through crystal chimes. In our ancient legends, the first stars were warriors who fought against the cosmic darkness. But those are myths, not history. What if they're not myths? Amanda asked. What if stars really are protectors and something is threatening them? Captain Bennett studied the translated messages on Amanda's screen. Doctor, can you communicate back to the sun? Can you send a reply? Amanda looked at Jake. We need to modify the communication ray to send energy pulses instead of radio signals. It would be like trying to speak in lightning. Jake nodded. I can modify the systems, but it will take several hours, and we'll need a lot of power. Do it, Captain Bennett ordered. If we only have 72 hours, we need to establish two-way communication as quickly as possible. 6 stepped forward. Captain Bennett, the Zephyrian Council wishes to help. Our mental abilities might assist in understanding the sun's consciousness. The collective offers our processing power. Unit 7 added. We can analyze data faster than any single mind. Elder Voss swirled thoughtfully. The ethereals have knowledge of cosmic forces that may prove useful. We will share what we know. Amanda felt hope growing in her chest. Thank you, all of you. If we're going to save the galaxy, we'll need everyone working together. She turned back to her screens and continued translating. More words became clear. Ancient enemy, void hunger, cold death, star killer. Captain, Amanda said, her voice worried. I think I understand what's coming. The sun is talking about something that destroys stars by eating their energy. Something that turns solar systems cold and dead. Captain Bennett activated her communication. Device, bridge, this is the captain. Contact Earth Command immediately, Priority Alpha. Tell them we have a code black situation. Potential extinction level threat to all life in the galaxy. As the captain spoke to her crew, Amanda worked faster. On her translations, the sun's messages were becoming more urgent, more detailed. She could see tactical information, descriptions of the enemy, and something that looked like battle plans. Jake, she called out. How long until we can send a reply to the sun? 6 hours if everything goes perfectly, he answered while working. On the communication systems, Amanda looked at her screen where new words were appearing. Human understanding, fire builders, weapon makers, alliance needed. She felt a chill run down her spine. The sun wasn't just asking for help from any species. It was specifically asking for help from humans. But why? More words appeared. Controlled destruction, heat, without feeding. Cold fire needed, cold fire. Amanda whispered. What does that mean? She ran the concept through her translation programs and cross-referenced it with human technology databases. Slowly, an answer emerged that made her blood run cold. Nuclear fusion, she said aloud. The sun is talking about nuclear fusion, but not normal fusion. Something different. Something that creates energy without giving off the signals that this enemy feeds on. Captain. Bennett turned to look at her. Are you saying the sun wants us to build weapons based on nuclear fusion, not just weapons? Amanda replied, staring at her screen. The sun is saying that humans are the only species in the galaxy that understands how to create controlled nuclear reactions. Every other species evolved past using explosive energy, but we didn't. We're still the species that builds bombs and rockets and fusion reactors. The translation program produced more words: fire speakers, explosion masters, Star Alliance. Amanda looked around the room at her alien colleagues and human friends. I think the sun is saying that our ability to make things explode is exactly what we need to fight this enemy. We're not primitive for understanding fire and explosions. We're uniquely qualified. Alarms suddenly rang throughout the ship again. Captain Bennett's communication device crackled to life. Captain, to the bridge, came Commander Foster's urgent voice. We're detecting massive gravitational distortions at the edge of the solar system. Something big is coming, and it's ahead of schedule. Amanda looked at her screen where the sun's messages were now streaming constantly, filled with urgent warnings and battle instructions. Whatever was coming, they had less time than they thought. The sun had chosen humanity as its ally in a cosmic war, and the first battle was about to begin. The bridge of the Aurora buzzed with activity. Every screen showed data about the approaching threat, and crew members from different species worked side by side. Amanda sat at a special console that Jake had built for her, finally able to send messages back to the sun. Solar communication link established, Jake announced. Amanda, you can talk to the sun now. Amanda took a deep breath and began typing her first message to a star. She kept it simple. We hear you. We want to help. What do you need? The response came back in minutes, translated by her computer into words she could understand. Joy. First voice heard in Ian's. Danger close. Need fire that burns cold. Need weapons that destroy without feeding the void. Captain Bennett stood behind Amanda, reading the translated conversation, asked it to explain cold fire. Amanda typed the question and waited. The sun's reply filled her screen with technical information that made her head spin. She worked to translate the complex concepts into simple terms. It's talking about fusion reactions that work backwards, she said slowly. Normal fusion creates energy by combining atoms, but the sun wants us to create fusion that pulls energy out of space instead of adding it. Commander Ryan Foster stepped forward. He was the ship's top engineer and understood fusion technology better than anyone else. On board. That's impossible. Fusion always releases energy. That's basic physics, not according to the sun. Amanda replied, showing him the translated data. It says humans already know how to do this, but we call it something different. She worked with her translation program for several more minutes, trying to understand the sun's technical explanations. Finally, pieces started to make sense. Antimatter, she said suddenly. The sun is talking about antimatter reactions. When matter and antimatter meet, they destroy each other completely. The energy goes away instead of building up. Ryan's eyes went wide. Antimatter annihilation, we've experimented with it, but only in tiny amounts. The sun wants us to build antimatter weapons. Before Amanda could answer, alarms rang throughout the ship again. The main view screen showed space near Jupiter, where something impossible was happening. Darkness was spreading like spilled ink, swallowing the light from stars behind it. Captain, reported the navigation officer. We're detecting multiple objects moving toward the inner solar system. They're absorbing all electromagnetic radiation. That hits them. Our sensors can't get clear readings. Elder Voss floated to the center of the bridge, his misty form glowing brighter than usual. The ancient enemy has arrived. In our oldest legends, we called them the Void Swarm. They consume the energy that holds star systems together. Uni 7's crystal body flashed with urgent colors. The collective is receiving distress signals from 17 different star systems. The void swarm attacks multiple targets simultaneously. Amanda turned back to her console and sent another message to the sun. The enemy is here. How do we fight them? The sun's response came quickly. Cold-fire weapons. Antimatter. Shells energy destruction instead of energy creation. Humans must teach others. Time is short. Captain Bennett activated the ship's communication system. All hands. This is the captain. We are facing a threat to all life in the galaxy. Earth Command is sending Admiral Karen Phillips with a fleet, but they won't arrive for 6 hours. We must hold the line until then. She turned to Amanda. Doctor, can you teach our alien allies how to build these antimatter weapons? Amanda looked at Zix, Unit 7, and Elder Voss. I can translate the sun's instructions, but humans will need to supervise the construction. Our brains work differently when it comes to controlled destruction. Ryan stepped forward. Captain, I can work with the engineering teams from all species, but we'll need to modify every weapon system on every ship in the area. Do it. Captain Bennett ordered. How long do you need? 4 hours minimum, Ryan replied. And that's if everything goes perfectly. Zix moved closer to Amanda's console. Human Amanda, can the sun help us during the battle? Can it fight alongside our ships? Amanda sent the question to the sun and waited for the response. The answer made her smile for the first time in days. The sun says it's been preparing for this fight for millions of years. She translated, it can create solar flares aimed at specific targets, but it needs our ships to guide the flares to the right places. Coordinate with a star, Jake asked. How is that possible? Amanda showed them the sun's explanation on her screen. The sun can create massive energy bursts, but it can't aim them precisely at small, fast-moving targets. We can. If we work together, we become like a giant weapon system with the sun as the main gun and our ships as the targeting system. Commander Foster studied the technical data. This could work. Our ships guide solar energy to specific targets while firing antimatter weapons that prevent the enemy from absorbing the solar attacks. Unit 7's crystals flickered with excitement. The collective can provide perfect coordination between multiple ships. Our shared consciousness will allow precise timing. Elder Voss swirled thoughtfully. The ethereals can sense cosmic energy flows. We can detect the void swarm's movements before your sensors can track them. Zix nodded. Zephyrian telepathy can maintain communication even if normal systems fail. Amanda felt hope growing stronger, and humans can build the weapons and coordinate. With the sun, each species contributes what they do best. Captain Bennett smiled grimly. Then let's build the strangest alliance in galactic history. A partnership between biological life and stellar intelligence. The next 4 hours passed in a blur of activity. Human engineers worked with alien technicians to modify weapon systems. Throughout the small fleet of ships in the area, Amanda maintained constant communication with the sun, learning tactical information about the approaching enemy. The void swarm, she learned, consisted of creatures made of pure entropy, the force in the universe that breaks things down and makes them cold and dead. They fed on any kind of energy, growing stronger with each star system they consumed. But they can't handle antimatter reactions, Amanda explained to the assembled crew. When matter and antimatter destroy each other, the energy disappears completely. There's nothing for the void swarm to feed on. Ryan finished the last weapon modifications just as Admiral Phillips arrived with the human fleet. Her ship, the Defender, was twice the size of the Aurora and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Admiral Phillips appeared on the main view screen, a tough woman with silver hair and determined eyes. Captain Bennett, report your status. Admiral, we've developed weapons that can fight the void swarm, and we've established communication with the sun itself. Dr. Clark has been coordinating our battle plans. Admiral Phillips looked surprised. Doctor, are you telling me you're talking to our sun? Amanda nodded. Yes, Admiral, the sun is intelligent, and it's been protecting our galaxy for millions of years. It needs our help to defeat the void swarm. Show me, Admiral Phillips said. Amanda sent a message to the sun. New human ships have arrived. Can you demonstrate your abilities? The sun's response was immediate and spectacular. A massive solar flare erupted from the sun's surface, streaking across space in a perfectly controlled beam. The flare struck an asteroid near Mars, turning it into glowing plasma in seconds. Impressive, Admiral Phillips said quietly. Dr. Clark, I'm placing you in charge of all communications with our stellar ally. Can you coordinate a battle plan? Amanda looked at her screens full of translated messages from the sun. Yes, Admiral. The sun has been planning this fight for a very long time. It knows exactly what we need to do. She pulled up the battle plan the sun had shared with her. The void swarm feeds off energy, so normal weapons make them stronger, but our antimatter weapons destroy energy instead of creating it. The sun will provide massive solar flares for long-range attacks, and our ships will use antimatter weapons for close combat. Admiral Phillips studied the plan. How do we coordinate with the sun during battle? I'll stay in constant communication, Amanda replied. The sun will tell me where to direct the solar flares, and I'll relay targeting information to all ships. Jake, step forward. Admiral, I've modified our communication system so Amanda can send real-time tactical data to every ship in the fleet. The Admiral nodded. Excellent work, everyone. Dr. Clark, ask our stellar ally when the battle will begin. Amanda sent the question to the sun. The response made her heart race. The sun says the void swarm will reach Earth's orbit in 2 hours, she announced. The first battle will happen near the moon. Admiral Phillips activated the fleet communication system. All ships, battle stations, we're about to fight the strangest enemy in galactic history, alongside the strangest ally we've ever had. Amanda looked at her screen where the sun's messages continued to flow. For the first time in Earth's history, humanity was about to fight a battle with their own star as a partner. The sun had waited millions of years for allies who could understand controlled destruction. Now it was time to find out if fire could defeat the darkness between stars. Jake, can you reverse the communication array instead of sending messages to the sun? Can we pull energy directly from it? Jake looked at her like she had lost her mind. That would be like trying to channel lightning through a wire. The sun is offering to help, Amanda said, pointing at her failing screens. It's sending us power directly. We just need to accept it. Captain Bennett looked at the two of them. Do it. If we lose communication with the sun, the entire battle fails. Jake quickly rewired the communication system while Amanda sent one last message to the sun, explaining what they planned to do. The sun's response filled her screen with enthusiastic agreement. The sun says it's been waiting millions of years to directly help biological life, Amanda translated. It's ready to share its power with us. Jake finished the modifications and activated the new system immediately. The ship's power levels began to rise as energy flowed directly from the sun through their communication array. It's working, he shouted. We're drawing power directly from the sun itself. The void entity wrapped around the aurora suddenly began to weaken. Instead of draining energy from the ship, it was encountering more energy than it could absorb. The direct connection to the sun provided unlimited power. All ships, Amanda announced over the communication system. The sun is offering direct power connections. You can draw energy directly from our star. One by one, the human and alien ships established direct connections with the sun. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Ships that had been struggling against the void swarm suddenly blazed with stellar energy. The final phase of the battle was unlike anything in galactic history. Ships powered by direct stellar energy fought creatures of pure darkness, while the sun itself participated in the battle by providing both energy and tactical coordination. The remaining void swarm entities, faced with opponents that could draw unlimited power from a star, began to retreat toward the outer solar system, but the sun wasn't finished with them. The sun says it's time to end this, Amanda announced. It's preparing something called a stellar purge. All ships need to move to minimum safe distance. The fleet pulled back as the sun began to gather energy for its final attack. What followed was the most spectacular display of stellar power ever witnessed. A massive solar flare erupted from the sun's surface, but instead of a focused beam, it spread out like a wave, carrying antimatter particles that the human ships had learned to create. The wave of antimatter enhanced solar energy swept through the outer solar system, catching the retreating void swarm entities. Where the wave touched them, they simply ceased to exist, their dark forms dissolving into nothing. All void swarm entities in this system have been destroyed, Amanda announced. Reading the sun's final message, the immediate threat is over. The bridge erupted in cheers from human and alien crew members alike. But Amanda knew this was just the beginning. The sun's messages showed that void swarm attacks were happening throughout the galaxy. Admiral, she said to Admiral Phillips, the sun wants to coordinate with other stars. It says we can teach the rest of the galaxy how to fight the void swarm. Admiral Phillips nodded. Dr. Clark, it looks like you've just become humanity's first stellar diplomat. Are you ready to help save the galaxy? Amanda looked at her screens, where messages from the sun continued to flow with information about other star systems under attack. The battle for Earth was over, but the war for the galaxy was just beginning. Yes, Admiral, she said, the sun has been waiting millions of years for allies. It's time to introduce the galaxy to the power of controlled destruction. The first voice swarm creatures appeared near the moon, like drops of liquid darkness against the stars. They moved without sound, without light, absorbing everything around them. Even the moon's reflected sunlight began to dim as the creatures fed on the energy. Amanda sat at her communication console, watching her screens fill with tactical data from the sun. Her hands moved quickly across the controls, translating the sun's battle instructions into commands the human and alien fleets could understand. Incoming message from the sun, she announced to the bridge. It says the void swarm has 12 primary entities, each the size of a small moon. They're surrounded by thousands of smaller creatures that act like scouts and defenders. Admiral Phillips stood in the center of the bridge, watching the main view screen. Dr. Clark asked the sun how we should attack. Amanda sent the question and received an immediate response. The sun wants us to use Formation Delta 7. Our antimatter weapons target the small creatures first, while solar flares attack the large ones. Captain Bennett activated the fleet communication system. All ships, Formation Delta 7. Human vessels take point. Alien ships provide support. Remember, our weapons work differently now. Antimatter destroys energy instead of creating it. The fleet moved into position. 15 human ships formed the front line, their newly modified weapons charged with antimatter particles. Behind them, 12 Zephyrian ships glowed with blue energy, their telepathic crews ready to coordinate the battle. The collective's crystal ships sparkled like flying jewels, and the ethereal vessels looked like silver clouds drifting through space. First contact in 30 seconds, reported the navigation officer. Amanda felt her heart pounding as she watched the void swarm approach. The creatures moved like living shadows, bending space around them as they absorbed light and energy from everything nearby. Solar flare incoming, she announced, relaying the sun's message. All ships, prepare to guide the flare to target Zone Alpha. A massive burst of energy erupted from the sun, streaking across space toward the approaching enemy. But this wasn't like the controlled demonstration they had seen earlier. This solar flare was enormous, carrying enough energy to power a city for 1,000 years. Guiding flare to target, called out Jake from his position at the communication station. All ships, adjust position to funnel the solar energy. The human and alien ships moved in perfect coordination, creating a formation that acted like a giant lens. The solar flare struck their energy shields and focused into a concentrated beam that hit the largest void swarm entity. The creature absorbed the solar energy and began to grow larger, exactly as the sun had predicted. But then something unexpected happened. The antimatter weapons fired at the same moment, and where the antimatter particles hit the creature, pieces of it simply disappeared. It's working, Amanda shouted, watching her screens. The creature can't absorb energy that doesn't exist anymore. The first void swarm entity writhed in space, parts of its body vanishing as the antimatter weapons continued to hit it. But the smaller creatures around it began to move faster, rushing toward the human fleet. Incoming fast movers, reported Commander Foster. They're trying to reach our ships before we can target them. Six's voice came over the communication system from his ship. Zephyrian crews are reading the creatures' movement patterns. They think in ways similar to our telepathic communication. Unit 7's crystal ship flashed with urgent colors. The collective detects coordination between all void swarm entities. They share information instantly across vast distances. Elder Voss's ship, looking like a silver cloud with weapons, drifted closer to the battle. The creatures are ancient, older than any species we know. They remember fighting stars before. Amanda relayed tactical upgrades between the sun and the fleet as the battle intensified. The smaller void swarm creatures reached the human ships and began trying to drain energy from their shields and weapons. Amanda called Captain Bennett. Tell the sun we need more precise targeting. The small creatures are too close to our ships for solar flares. Amanda sent the message and received a complex response. The sun says it can create smaller, focused flares, but it needs our ships to act as targeting guides. We have to get closer to the enemy. Admiral Phillips made a decision that would have seemed impossible just days before. All ships, close formation around the void swarm entities. We're going to guide stellar fire from point-blank range. The fleet moved directly Into the swarm of dark creatures, void entities surrounded every ship, trying to drain their energy. But the antimatter weapons created zones where energy simply ceased to exist, and the creatures couldn't feed on nothing. Solar targeting data coming in, Amanda announced, her fingers flying across her controls. The sun is preparing multiple precision flares. All ships, prepare to coordinate the most complex targeting run in history. What happened next was like a deadly dance between stars and ships. The sun created dozens of smaller solar flares, each one aimed at specific coordinates that Amanda transmitted to the fleet. The human and alien ships moved in perfect formation, their energy shields directing the solar fire exactly where it needed to go. Captain Danny Rodriguez, commanding the human ship Firestorm, led his vessel directly between the massive void swarm entities. Antimatter torpedoes ready, guiding solar flare to target. His ship's weapons fired antimatter charges that created empty zones in space, areas where the void creatures couldn't exist. At the same moment, a precisely aimed solar flare struck the same area, pushing the creatures into the antimatter zones. The effect was spectacular. The void swarm entities began to collapse as parts of their bodies encountered regions where energy didn't exist. They writhed and twisted, trying to escape the antimatter fields, but the coordinated attack left them nowhere to go. Target 1 is breaking apart, reported engineer Sarah Kim from her position aboard the Defender. The antimatter is creating permanent damage, but the battle was far from over. The remaining void swarm entities began to change tactics. Instead of trying to absorb energy, they started to move away from the antimatter weapons and focus on the ships themselves. They're learning, Amanda announced, translating urgent messages from the sun. The creatures are adapting to our weapons. The sun says we need to change our approach. One of the largest void entities suddenly accelerated toward the Aurora. Its massive form blocked out the stars as it approached, and Amanda could feel the temperature on the bridge dropping as the creature absorbed heat from the ship's hull. Emergency evasive action, Captain Bennett ordered. All weapons, fire at will. The Aurora's antimatter weapons fired continuously, but the creature was too large and too close. It began to wrap around the ship like a living shadow, trying to drain every bit of energy from their systems. Amanda, Jake called out, the communication array is losing power. We're losing contact with the sun. Amanda watched her screens flickering as the void entity drained power from the ship's systems. Without communication with the sun, the coordinated attack would fall apart. Then she had an idea that was either brilliant or insane. 3 months after the battle, Amanda stood in her new office aboard the space station Unity, which orbited Earth at the exact distance where solar communication worked best. Through her window, she could see ships from dozens of different species, arriving and departing, all coming to learn about stellar communication. Her title was now Stellar Ambassador, the first position of its kind in galactic history. Every day, she helped teach other species how to talk to their home stars and coordinate defenses against the void swarm. Ambassador Clark, came Jake's voice over the communication system. We have incoming messages from the Vega system. Their star wants to discuss battle tactics with our sun. Amanda smiled and sat down at her communication console, which was now 10 times more complex than her original equipment. Put the translation through to the main display, Jake. The screen filled with patterns of light that represented a conversation between two stars separated by 25 light years. Amanda's job was to translate and coordinate these stellar discussions, helping suns throughout the galaxy share information about fighting the void swarm. Vega is reporting successful defense of 3 star systems using her antimatter techniques. Amanda announced to the team working around her, the star wants to know if our sun has developed any new tactics. She sent the question to Earth's sun and received an immediate response. After 3 months of regular communication, talking to a star felt as natural as speaking with a friend. Our sun says it's working on something called stellar networking. Amanda translated. Multiple stars working together to create coordinated attacks across interstellar distances. Captain Bennett, now promoted to Admiral Bennett and Commander of Unity Station, walked into the communication center. Amanda, how many star systems have we taught stellar communication to? Amanda checked her records. 47 systems now have active stellar communication programs. Each star is teaching nearby stars, so the network is growing exponentially. She pulled up a galactic map that showed points of light where stars had learned to communicate with their civilizations. The Galactic Council estimates that within a year, every major star system will have this capability. Admiral Bennett nodded with satisfaction. And the void swarm attacks, decreasing rapidly, Amanda replied. The creatures depend on being able to feed on stellar energy without resistance. When stars fight back with coordinated antimatter attacks, the void swarm entities are forced to retreat. Through the window, Amanda could see a group of young Zephyrians arriving for stellar communication training. Zix had become the lead instructor for telepathic species, teaching them how to use their mental abilities to enhance star communication. Unit 7 floated past the window in a specially designed crystal ship that could amplify stellar signals. The collective had created an entire branch of their shared consciousness, dedicated to coordinating communication between different star systems. Elder Voss had established a school for cosmic energy studies where ethereals taught other species about the deep forces that connected stars across the galaxy. What had once been ancient legends was now practical science. Amanda, Jake called from his position at the main communication ray. We're getting a priority message from Admiral Phillips. She's requesting a conference with you and the Sun. Admiral Phillips appeared on the main view screen from her flagship, which was now permanently stationed near Jupiter to coordinate stellar defense networks. Ambassador Clark, I'd have news from the galactic frontier. Go ahead, Admiral, Amanda replied. Our deep space scouts report that void swarm activity has decreased by 90%. Throughout the galaxy, it appears that when enough stars learned to fight back, the creatures began retreating to regions outside our galaxy entirely. Amanda felt a surge of joy and immediately sent the news to the Sun. The response came back filled with satisfaction and gratitude. The Sun says this is the first time in millions of years that the void swarm has been driven away from an entire galaxy. Amanda translated. It wants to thank all the species that worked together to make this possible. Admiral Phillips smiled. There's more good news. The Galactic Council has officially recognized stellar intelligence as a new category of citizenship. Stars now have legal rights and representation in galactic government. Amanda laughed, thinking about how impossible that would have sounded just months ago. I'll let our Sun know. I think it will be pleased to participate in galactic democracy later. That evening, Amanda stood alone in her office, watching Earth turn slowly below. Her communication console chimed softly with a personal message from the Sun. Thank you, small fire builder. The message read when translated. For eons, stars fought alone against the darkness. Now we fight together. Biological life and stellar intelligence united. The galaxy is safe because one human learned to hear what others thought was only noise. Amanda typed her response. Thank you for choosing to trust us. Humanity has found its place in the galaxy as the bridge between different forms of consciousness. The Sun's reply made her smile. Your species understands that destruction can be creative. That fire can protect as well as consume. You have taught the galaxy that alliance is stronger than individual power. Over the following weeks, Amanda watched as the new galactic order took shape. The stellar communication corps, led by Jake, trained thousands of beings from hundreds of species. Every major civilization now had specialists who could talk to their home stars. The technology developed during the crisis revolutionized space travel. Ships powered by direct stellar energy could travel vast distances without depleting their fuel. The antimatter techniques originally designed as weapons were adapted for clean energy production. Commander Ryan Foster had established the Stellar Engineering Institute, where humans and aliens worked together to develop new technologies. Based on star civilization partnerships, cold fusion reactors provided unlimited clean energy, while stellar navigation systems allowed ships to communicate with any star for precise positioning. Captain Danny Rodriguez commanded the new Void Watch, a fleet dedicated to monitoring the edges of T Galaxy for any return of the cosmic threat. His ships carried both antimatter weapons and direct stellar communication rays. Engineer Sarah Kim led the development of civilian applications for stellar technology. Cities on dozens of worlds now drew power directly from their suns, while interstellar communication happened instantaneously through stellar relay networks. 1 year after first contact with the Sun, Amanda participated in the first Galactic Stellar Council, where representatives from biological civilizations met with stellar intelligences to discuss cosmic policy. She served as the chief translator, helping stars and planets work together on issues ranging from space navigation to cosmic defense. The proposal before us today, announced the council speaker, a floating ethereal named Wisdom Keeper Ash. is the establishment of permanent stellar guardianship networks throughout the galaxy. Amanda listened to the translated voices of dozens of stars as they discussed the proposal. Each star would be responsible for protecting nearby star systems, creating an interconnected defense network that would prevent any future cosmic threats. The motion passes unanimously, Wisdom Keeper Ash announced. Stellar guardianship networks will be established in all major galactic regions. After the council session, Amanda walked to her favorite observation deck on Unity Station, Earth. Hung in space below, illuminated by the light of their stellar ally, the sun sent her a private message, as it did most evenings. How do you feel about the changes? Small fire builder, the sun asked. Amanda thought about the question carefully before responding. Proud, but also humble. A year ago, I was just studying alien languages. Now I'm helping to reshape galactic civilization. You have given stars and worlds a voice to speak to each other, the sun replied. This is the greatest translation in the history of the galaxy. Amanda watched a group of ships departing for distant star systems, carrying stellar communication equipment and human instructors. Each ship represented the spread of the alliance. Between biological and stellar intelligence, the void swarm was just the beginning, wasn't it? She asked the sun. The universe is vast and full of wonders and dangers, the sun confirmed. But now the galaxy faces the cosmos united, stars and worlds, biological life and stellar consciousness all working together. This alliance will endure for millions of years. 5 years later, Amanda stood in the same place, now older and wiser, watching her daughter play with holographic star maps. The child, like many born after the stellar alliance, grew up thinking it was perfectly normal to have conversations with the sun. Mama, her daughter asked, why did the stars wait so long to talk to us? Amanda smiled and knelt down beside her. They weren't waiting, sweetheart. They were speaking all along. We just had to learn how to listen. She looked up at the sun, which sent a gentle pulse of warmth and greeting. The star had become more than humanity's protector. It had become their friend, their advisor, and their partner in exploring the mysteries of the universe. Amanda's communication console chimed with messages from stars throughout the galaxy, each one sharing discoveries, asking for advice, or simply saying hello. The network of stellar intelligence had grown beyond anything they had imagined possible. The sun spoke once, and a human translated it into fire. That translation had saved the galaxy and created a new form of civilization where the boundaries between biological and stellar consciousness no longer mattered. In the distance, new ships prepared to depart for unexplored regions of space, carrying the stellar alliance to parts of the universe that had never known the partnership between stars and worlds. The galaxy had learned to speak with one voice, and that voice was asking the cosmos what other wonders awaited discovery. Amanda smiled and sent a message to the sun, ready for another adventure. Old friend, the sun's response filled her screen with light patterns that translated into cosmic laughter and eternal friendship. Together, they would explore whatever the universe had to offer, one star and one human at a time.